floor. I'm Amy Goodman. We're broadcasting from SPNN from St. Paul Neighborhood Network. Well, police in St. Paul are being accused of continuing to intimidate a group of video makers that traveled to the Twin Cities to document police misconduct during the Republican National Convention. On Saturday, police raided a home where members of Eyewitness Video Collective were staying. Members of the group were detained for over 2 hours. We talked about that on Monday. Well, yesterday, police armed with batons and battering ram entered a St. Paul office building that housed the offices of Eyewitness Video. Police claimed they were investigating reports of anarchists holding hostages in the building. Members of Eyewitness Video accused the police of blatant harassment and of using the bogus hostage claim to seek entry to their office. Lawyers and legal observers from the National Lawyers Guild described what happened.
Well, I was in the middle of a legal conference in a conference room. There were a lot of law offices in the building, and suddenly there were 3 or 4 St. Paul police officers poking their head, looking through a particular door.
And they were jumping, they were holding onto the ledge and trying to jump up so they could see inside the office, and they weren't able to see inside the office. And they were saying that there was either somebody being kidnapped, somebody being held against their will.
They told me that somebody, an undercover, had told them that the anarchists were holding people hostage in our building. I work for the NLG here. We're working out of one of our lawyers' offices. I said, is it in our law office? They said, no, it's upstairs. They then came into the building with me. I showed them what was going on upstairs.
They said that the call did not come into 911. The call came into the RNC part of the policing, and we questioned strongly why a report of a kidnapping would do that and how strange the scenario was.
I then asked the police to leave since nobody was obviously being held hostage here, and they refused. Eventually their head sergeant came here and decided that they could leave the building.
Well, the kidnapping report turned out to be false. The incident had an immediate effect on the work of Eyewitness Video. After the group held an impromptu news conference outside, the building's landlord forced the group to move out. Democracy Now! Caught up with members of Eyewitness Video Collective as they pack their belongings.
Basically, the landlord freaked out, and the legal office that's managing all the criminal defense of all the people during the convention here, people who were arrested, they were told if we didn't leave, they would be kicked out also. So we couldn't let that happen. These folks are here filing today a very important lawsuit. They're trying to get people released from jail. They're trying to stop some of these crazy things that the St. Paul police is doing in conjunction with the FBI and the Minneapolis police and so on. And so we really have no choice. We have to go today.
I'm a videographer. My name's Amy Sharp, and I work with Eyewitness. You know, it's just a tactic to stop us from working because we're actually doing a good job.
Many of us have been detained, the house arrest. We've been harassed on the streets personally. So a lot of police misconduct.
Yep, blank tape in case we need them, and a whole bunch of other stuff that we were using in our office to do our work. It has been seriously disrupted.
Who needs this? Who needs to have, police agents and battering rams show up to your office building? I would understand that a landlord would feel, kind of concerned, and the tenants might feel concerned.
If journalists, including citizen journalists, including documentarians, including anybody who takes a camera out there to document what really happens on our streets, in our communities, people who do that are protecting a political democracy. They're protecting what governs how we live here. And if we take away the right of people to do that, we really put our political system at risk.
We're joined right now by Eileen Clancy of Eyewitness Video at St. Paul Neighborhood Network. We're staying with Bruce Nestor, who's head of National Lawyers Guild here. Eileen Clancy, the police came to your office for the second time yesterday with battering ram?
Well, we didn't see it because we were inside. That's what the attorney, Geneva Finn, you saw just a little while ago, told us, that they were unloading equipment from the vehicle. She spoke to them, and at that point, somehow, she was told that there was this whole story about there were barricaded hostages.
That you had hostages inside?
I don't think they referred to eyewitness video specifically, but they went up on the second floor of that building, and they came right in front of our door. And we were able to see one of our group members saw the police were there next door talking to people and became concerned, and we notified the legal office. We were inside. We had the door locked, and because there's no peephole in that door, we had a little closed-circuit camera, and so we looked at this little image, just of half a police officer's body, and we were just, we knew they were outside the door, and we didn't know what it meant. When I called the attorney who was outside and speaking to the police, and when she related this tale that there were barricaded hostages, that's what the police were saying. We had about, I don't know, half a dozen of us in that room, and we were just dumbfounded. I mean, it's just dumbfounded. It's just a completely insane.
Why are you in St. Paul?
We're in St. Paul to document the demonstrations around the Republican convention, and including particularly the policing. And we're seeking to understand how the demonstrations are policed and how the whole actually federal apparatus works of surveillance and things like that.
Can you explain your role in the RNC documentation project in 2004? 1,800 people were arrested. You have thousands of videotapes from that time? Thousands or hundreds?
No, not thousands. there's hundreds of them. There's hundreds of them.
And what were they used to do in terms of lawsuits?
Well, we worked with the New York City chapter of the National Lawyers Guild directly on the criminal defense of people who are arrested. And what we discovered was that the police had lied so thoroughly and so often that if you were able to take the police statements, the police affidavits of the charges, and put them up against the video, that many times the cases completely fell apart.
How many cases fell apart?
We say that there's 400 criminal cases directly that were where the charges were dropped or there was an acquittal, solely related to video evidence.
Now, the New York police are working with the St. Paul and Minneapolis police. They work with the police in Denver. Do you think there's a relationship between so many of the cases, hundreds of cases, falling apart based on evidence that you had in New York, now in St. Paul, not wanting the cases, the stories, the arrests documented like this?
Well, one has to wonder. I mean, this is an extraordinary amount of pressure to put on us. What happened yesterday really ratcheted up the stakes because, they came in with a warrant even though it had the wrong address the other day, and we had guns pointed at us. And then yesterday...
In that case, we got there on Saturday. I asked a police officer about the weapons. He said, yes, there was an AR-15 automatic rifle there.
But the police were carrying.
Right. They came in at you on Saturday with a pistol drawn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had loaded.
Bruce Nestor, what about the significance of saying perhaps if there are hostages inside, wouldn't that give them a legitimate right to shoot?
It would. It allows them to enter without a warrant in that type of situation. So that's the key,
without a warrant.
That's the basis, I would believe, for that type of allegation, yes.
Are you concerned about what's happening here?
You look at a pattern of the Glass Bead Collective being arrested, or another group of videographers. You look at eyewitness video being targeted twice. You look at the sweep arrests of journalists, the targeting of other journalists. You also have to understand in Minneapolis back in August of 2007, we had a critical mass bike ride where 19 people were charged with these probable cause riot charges. Only 5 people, of course, were ever formally charged with anything. A case that went to trial, actually a person with the RNC welcoming committee was acquitted because video evidence showed the officers lying. Another client of mine charged with various gross misdemeanors. Cases were dismissed because the video showed officers were lying. So local police have the same experience that they've had in New York City. They're working with the police in New York City. I mean, I can't have any concrete evidence that they're saying, let's go get eyewitness video. But you got to start to ask the question, why are they repeatedly going after these same people when the work has been so effective in responding to police abuse?